Great to see you and talk about the film.
Good to see you.
I was one of the few that hadn't read the book, so for me, Harry Hole was a blank canvas, and that's been very exciting because you do feel like you're so much ahead of your audience into knowing about him. Was that exciting for you?
It was a great luxury to have all those books. So Nesbo really did a lot of my work for me. To have this character. From the beginning, I could go back to the original, the first couple of books, and see where the incarnation of this character, when he came fresh, out of Yo, and then where he ends up later down the line. So yeah, I just sort of sucked up all that information and tried to sort of bring it to the character on screen.
Is it tough to embody so much more history than will appear in the first version of the screen adaptation?
No, because you have all the information, and then you use what information is suitable and accordingly to this story.
Let's talk about the snow and it being such a character in itself in the film. How did it inform filming? How cold was it actually, and how much did it change things?
It was cold, but obviously it's called the snowman, so we needed the snow.
Yes.
I'm definitely thankful that it was falling, because obviously with the climate the way it is at the moment, we were lucky that we were shooting it at the other side of Christmas, because I don't think they had a lot of snowfall, in the months like December and January and November. So that was great that we didn't need to use too much snow machine stuff. And then it was cold, yeah, but a kind of freshness to it. It's a sort of dry cold there, so I liked it.
The psychological element of the novels and the story make it fascinating, because it's not a whodunit only, it's a why did they do it. Does that also make it thrilling for you, when you read a script like that has so much, subtext to it?
I mean, I think that's part of the sort of, the idea, again, people I think are interested in serial killers, these sort of extreme versions of human beings. So if you think of Silence of the Lambs, you remember Anthony Hopkins as much as you do Jodie Foster, Clarice. And so to try and sort of get into the mindset of the killer and understand where it's sort of born and the seeds of this sort of, tendency, I think it's interesting.
Have you always been interested in those famous detectives, the Sherlock Holmes of this world, and what makes them so fascinating to audiences, in literature and in cinema?
I think it's because they're at the front line, protecting us. This idea, so it's similar to doctors. We still have always these successful doctor shows, as well as these crime dramas with detectives, because I think we have a sort of not a fascination, but we're drawn to these characters that protect us or save our lives, and the way again that Joe has created this very human version of that, a very sort of flawed and very real type of character. You can imagine Harry Hole. At least I could when I was reading the books. I could very easily visualize him, and I could imagine him walking and talking and breathing and existing.
Yeah, true. If it was your choice to choose a filmmaker you haven't worked with or a type of character you haven't played, what would it be?
I love the Coen Brothers, and I guess something funny with them.
Yes, that's true. A comedy next is what I always tell you.
That's right.
It's what you should
and I
do
keep
next.
ignoring you.
It will happen. It will happen. You will have fun. And finally, growing up, what were the type of films you were watching? The thrillers, the detective stories, the Coen Brothers films?
Well, if you like really early films, I guess Star Wars, was my big thing. E.T., Indiana Jones, the usual suspects. And then as I got older and sort of, in my teens, like 15, when I started maybe getting closer to thinking about acting, then it was like films like, On the Waterfront. And my mother introduced me to a lot of sort of cinema from the 70s, American cinema. So yeah.
Do you remember your acting turning point moment, the day you discovered that you were good at it and you should pursue it?
I remember the day where I thought that I had an affinity to it, that it felt right for me, and that was pretty much, the second time I went to a drama class. I was 17. I do remember that, but I knew that, I was like, okay, I'm going to just work really hard at this, and I believed in myself.